Hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to another episode of this. So, how's everybody doing today? I am having a weird day. So, guess how many spiders were in the shower today when I was getting in to clean myself? Yeah, spiders, multiple. Two. Like, I know that's not a lot, but one of them was really weird and hairy, and the shower head was already running, and I kind of didn't want to splash water on him and risk him getting on my foot. So, I screamed and threw a hissy fit instead. Nice. So, moving on, let's get to it. So, last week we talked about water monster movies. Now it is time to talk about water monster books. Now, to clarify, because maybe I didn't do such a good job talking about it last week, I wanted to talk about water monsters that are, for the most part, natural. For the most part. I wanted to avoid kaiju, especially traditional Japanese kaiju, because technically, like, Godzilla could be a water monster, especially if you've seen the original. I also wanted to avoid cosmic horror, because cosmic horror and the ocean, deep water, it's very intertwined. I wanted to just focus on water monsters. So, with that in mind, let's talk about the books this week. And oh, I've got a good list. I've got a really good list, and I'm really happy about this because I love this subject. I love water monsters. I love watching the movies. I love reading the books. So, let's start with kind of like the guy, at least for me, and for a lot of us, started it all. And that's Peter Benchley. So, Peter Benchley wrote Jaws, and I'm going to talk about some other books that he wrote. Jaws, surely you've seen the movie. Surely you love the movie. It's fantastic. And I talked last week about how the book maybe didn't do it for me as much as the movie. I love the movie. It is one of my top 5 maybe favorite movies ever. And the book, it's still good. Like, I'm not here to talk crap about Mr. Peter Benchley. He's fantastic. The book, just, it's different. So, something that Spielberg did in the movie is he made really great characters. You know the shark, but you also know Chief Brody. You know Quint. You know Hooper. These are characters that you really grab onto, and they're likable characters for the most part. Even Quint, Mr. Drunk Guy, you really see a different side to him, a softer side, and that's not kind of what happens in the book. Now, again, we don't have lovable characters. Quint in the book is just kind of like, he's just kind of there. He's just kind of the guy that drives the boat. He's not nearly as interesting as he is in the movie. And Hooper's a bad person in the book. He's not a good guy. And so there are different things. So remember, all of this takes place on an island off New York called Amity Island. And in the movie, Chief Brody is from New York, and he brought his family from New York to kind of like a slower pace on Amity Island. In the book, Chief Brody is a lifelong islander. He has always been an islander. This is his life. This is his place. His wife is the outsider. She was a New Yorker. I mean, she came from like Manhattan. She was a rich girl who was kind of playing it dirty by marrying the vacation guy, so there's that. But something else that the book does that you don't quite get so much in the movie that makes it worth the read, I'll talk about the monster aspect in a second, but in the movie, the mayor of Amity is very much villainized with good reason. But there's a very short scene with like a mob of locals talking about, you have to open up, how else are we going to make money, how else are we going to make money. This is expanded in the book to the point where you kind of sympathize with the mayor. The economics of the island are explained better, and you have to remember this is in the 1970s, maybe the 60s, I think it's the 70s, talking about how much everybody on this island, down to the garbage men, rely on the beachgoers in the summertime coming and boosting them up, because in the wintertime these people have to really tighten their belts. There aren't grocery stores that can just stock everything on this island, because again, they're an island. Everything has to be ferried there. And again, this is the 1970s. Maybe it would be a different story now, but the entire livelihood of the entire population of this island relies on tourists, relies on vacationers, and it's unthinkable. It is unthinkable to close the island to tourists. It like that it's even brought up for debate is crazy to them. So, you know, it's easy to hate the mayor in the movie because he does it so well. But in the book, it goes a little deeper and you find yourself feeling sorry for him because he has to speak for all these people who, how else are we supposed to take care of our families? How else are we supposed to buy food? We can't do anything without the vacationers. It's kind of pushed a little more. So there's always the discussion with Jaws, the movie, maybe not so much the book, about whether or not it's horror. And I am firmly in camp, it is horror. The movie is a monster movie. The book is a monster book. If you haven't read it, I can't stress enough how the way Benchley wrote it, details about the bodies left behind, like the things that they find washed up on the beach. The death scenes are graphic, like they are in the movie. They're different deaths. You know, people die in the book who didn't die in the movie. Main characters. So, little spoiler there, but no, this is a fantastic creature book. And just, you know, really quick to remind you, in case you didn't know, this book became such a big hit and it caused people to fear sharks. And they thought, hey, let's just eradicate sharks. There were these massive hunting parties for sharks after this book came out. And Peter Benchley came to really deeply regret this, and he became a marine conservationist. This was something that he went on to do. He felt bad about this. Peter Benchley's an awesome guy. So while we're talking about him, he also wrote 2 other books I want to put on this list. I don't know how many, honestly, sea creature books that he wrote, but another one is Beast, and Beast is kind of tentacles. I think it's a squid. Big, you know, angry sea monster book, kind of in the same vein as Jaws, kind of, but a different creature. And he also wrote a book called White Shark. Now, this one isn't what you think it is. Think, you know how there are all those werewolf stories about the Nazis trying to create kind of SS troopers that are also werewolves? So this one is Nazi science gone wrong in the form of a sort of aquatic stormtrooper, basically. It's called White Shark. That's kind of like the code name for what you get. It's a weird book, but totally good. They made a movie out of it that I didn't watch, and I think I'm smart for that. But again, all of these will be listed in the section below, so check this out. But yes, so Jaws, Beast, and White Shark by Peter Benchley. Now, the next author I want to talk about is also, we've got multiple books to talk about from this author. Hunter Shea. If you don't know who Hunter Shea is, please fix that, first of all. Hunter Shea is one of the best monster book authors out there. This is my opinion, but I am right, so listen to me, please. He writes books that harken back to the golden age of the paperback. They're not terribly lengthy. Some of them are short, but most of them are, you know, your typical paperback size. They're fast-paced, they're brutal, they're fun. I once told him, I was like, your books make me feel like I'm having a panic attack because they're so fast-paced, they're so relentless, they are so much fun. When we're talking monsters, this is what we want, and he does it better than pretty much everybody. A monster book by Hunter Shea is a guarantee for a good time. So I want to talk about some of the aquatic monster books that he's written. They Rise. This was the first Hunter Shea book I ever read, and it's so good. It's so graphic, like it's gross. This is, think prehistoric monsters rising from the depths and just wreaking ever-loving havoc. The Montauk Monster. This is a local legend come to life, eating people. Loch Ness Revenge, again. And I found, while, you know, looking around for this, there is a book that he wrote a while ago that is now out of print called Fury of the Orcas. And it's no longer in print, so I went to Thrift Books to see if they have it. They didn't, so I put in that if they get one in, I'll get notified. If you aren't on Thrift Books, get thy Heine to thriftbooks.com and look around. A lot of books that are out of print that you can get there for a reasonable price. I've talked before, there's a whole video about my thoughts on secondhand books and, you know, supporting the authors. The ones that are still in print, please get in physical or ebook. Hunter Shea is awesome. All right, so we got those two guys out of the way. Another book that was really good, and it's about more than just the sea monsters. There's a lot going on in this book, like conspiracy theories and big corporations ruling the world, all that kind of stuff. It's Pressure by Brian Keene. This is just a good book. It kind of reminded me a little bit that it has similar themes to They Rise by Hunter Shea. Again, but way more going on. Totally fun read. Stranded by Beverly Scherberger. This one is kind of like Land of the Lost, but also with a really long, agonizing period of being in the water with sharks. We've also got the island with, you know, kind of really violent animals on it, but we've got that part in the water with the sharks, and you know that freaks my shit out. Very good book. Of Men and Monsters by Tom Deedy. This is a really good book. It's a short read. And this one is one of those, you know, the monster isn't what you think it is. Weird sea monkey kind of thing, but not what you think it is. What's next? Oh, so this one is another two-parter. These books go together. Rolling in the Deep and Into the Drowning Deep by Myra Grant, who also writes under the name Sheenan McGuire. But these are under the name Myra Grant. I'll put both names in the description below. These are about mermaids. And I know that mermaids aren't necessarily cosmic horror, but mermaids are still, like, if I'm putting the Loch Ness Monster in here, I gotta put mermaids in. And boy, these mermaids are violent. What I love about this is the gender of the mermaids, especially the ones that are going out and killing. Think ants or bees when it comes to that kind of stuff. Totally good books. What do we have next? Lords of the Deep by Tim Meyer and Patrick Lacey. Big sea monsters, pirate lore, kind of like in the Fog. Fun, short read. I mean, it's not overly long. It's one of those just fast paced. You get over it in a weekend. You can have this book read in a weekend. Okay, I want to talk about The Lake. Now, I have it here. I can't show it to you because it'll flip, but I'll put it in a thumbnail for this. The Lake by R.J. Jensen. Now, this is an old Tor horror paperback. And if you know me at all, if you've ever heard me give an interview, if you've ever read a blog post I've written for another site, you know how much I love Ruby Jean Jensen. And R.J. Jensen is just the sort of gender neutral name that she gave to make sure that people would actually read this book. But it's called The Lake, and it's a straight up monster book. Fantastic. I love everything by her. The thing about Ruby Jean Jensen that I love is they always start off with action. There's no build up. Things immediately start going to hell immediately. And then we build up to what's really going on. What do we have next? Oh, Cruel Summer by Wesley Southard. Now, full disclosure, you know, Wesley Southard is one of my best friends. I also just started reading this book. So I'm not done yet. And I talked to Mr. Southard and asked him because I was noticing a lot of reviews saying that this is a cosmic horror book. And he, as the author, greatly disagrees. I will have to get back to you on this because I, as his friend, am not afraid to disagree with him. From what he said, no. Think mythology, not cosmic. So we'll see. I will get back to you when I'm done with this, but I would recommend anything by him, and not just because he's my friend, but just because I have good taste in friends, and they're all really talented. So the last book I want to talk about is one that I don't have. And I happened to notice someone else on my Instagram had posted a book haul that they got. And I saw this in their book haul. And I was like, oh, no way, that book exists. So I am now on a waiting list to get notified when Thrift Books get this book in because I want it so bad. And also because I forgot to mention the movie last week. The movie that I forgot to mention was Orca. I think that movie was made in 1977. And this movie... it's like a kind of like a Jaws but with orcas. There's a really disturbing scene in this movie in the beginning of like whale miscarriage. That's all I'm going to say. But I really want to read the book. It's by Arthur Herzog III. And oh my God, I cannot wait to get my hands on this book and give it a read. But that's really everything. I mean, there's a lot of books on this list. I just feel like I flew to some of them. I guess so. But yeah, so we got lots of stuff here. We've got prehistoric monsters, mythological monsters, actual monsters, mermaids. We've got crazy crazy sea monkeys. We've got actual sharks. We've got all kinds of neat stuff in here. So again, these will be listed below. Feel free to check them out. When you get on this kind of reading kick, there you go. This is a good place to start. I know there are a billion more because this is a popular place to go as a writer. I will probably go there eventually as a writer because, like I said in the last week's video, deep dark water, that gets me to the core. That actually legitimately scares the crap out of me. But that'll be it for this week. I don't know what I'm going to do next week. I will be back and I will have something, but as of right now, I don't know. Maybe I'll start with ghosts, or maybe let's talk about unconventional monsters. There's a lot of those where they can't quite be categorized because they're so freaking weird. Freaking weird, that'll be it. And I love freaking weird. As a freaking weird myself, you gotta support your fellow weirdos. So that'll be it for me this week. I hope the world is treating you good. I hope you don't find 2 spiders in your shower when you go to shower. And I will see you next week. And again, I have to point out how awesome the clicker is working with the new phone. So that'll be it for me. I'll see you next week. Bye!